but I am very excited and grateful for the opportunity to talk about something that I'm passionate about. And this is something that a lot of people, either it will resonate with you or it won't resonate with you, which is fine. So my dad is going to pass out some index cards, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions with a pen, too, to kind of start the process going. The first question that I'm going to ask is, are you better personally with words or with numbers? First of all, so are you better with words? If you're better with words, raise your hand. Meaning that, you know, you excelled in English, you weren't a science or math genius, you know? Or are you both? Were you better at words or were you better at math? If you could write down which one you were better at, that would be great. Is it languages that you excelled in, or was it words? The second question I wanted to ask was, what is it that your area of expertise, you being in the community that you were with work, what is it that was your core competency? If you could write down what it was that, you know, were you an attorney? Were you a counselor? Were you a football player? He was a football player.
He played for Purdue.
The second question was, what's your core competency? What is it that you are passionate about? It doesn't have to be your vocation. Because what we're looking at here is the room that we're in now, whether you believe it or not, is a room full of heroes. And when I say that, a room full of heroes, what I mean by that is if you understand the power that you hold within you, you have decisions that you make every day of your life. Some of the decisions are actually gone through, and the analogy or the story that I heard about that is there's 5 seagulls on a dock. And one of them decides to fly away. How many seagulls are left on the dock? Well, there's still 5. There's not 4. He made a good intention in following through with something are completely different. So what we want to do today is to, the 31st here in Villa Grande, is to talk to you about some concepts and some ideas, and afterwards to ask yourself, you know, what is it that you're going to do? Because if you choose not to decide, you've still made a choice. And you'll hear me talk about all these different things today. You hear a lot of times, even today, so people are going to criticize other people for whatever it is that they do. It doesn't matter. And you have to remember that the world is full of critics. And there was a very wise man that said that it's not the critic that counts, nor the man that pointed out where the strong man stumbled, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man that's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again. Because there is no effort without error or shortcomings. Who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, in the end, knows the triumph of high achievement, who at worst, if he does fail, fails while daring greatly, so that his place will never be counted amongst those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. Does anybody know who that wise man was that said that? Got a book for you if you do. Maybe this will help. Does this face look familiar to you? Uncle Teddy. So Teddy Roosevelt said that's called The Man in the Arena. And it's something that I think about a lot because there are people that, whatever it is that I do, they're critical. Oh, what are you trying to sell me now? Or, oh, what are you doing now? This, you know, this sounds like a scam, or whatever it is. I don't know. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Roosevelt allowed me to realize that I just have to be true to myself, understand that what I'm doing, I want to do for the greater good of people. So the other thing, the question that I ask and I get feedback on is, what is the #1 reason for success? And it's funny because the #1 reason for success is the exact same reason for failure. Does anybody know what that is? It's okay if you don't. That's what I'm here for. There is a reason, and it's all based upon what it is that they put in their head what it is that they are trying to achieve in their life. Why doesn't everybody achieve success? And success is different for everybody, isn't it? It's not the same for everybody. One success for one person is vastly different for somebody else. Looking around the room, I can see what your rituals are, your daily rituals, okay? For Jim Martin over here, who's one of our affiliate colleagues, thank you, Jim, for recording that. It's obvious to me that he works out at least 4 times a week. Just by looking at him, I can tell that's part of his ritual. Okay, another word for ritual is habit. The number one reason for success is the exact same reason for failure, and that's habit. So what I want to do as a leader, as a member of society, is I want to cultivate excellent habits, and I want to become their slave. Og Mandino said that, and one of the things that you'll know about me is that I utilize other people's words, inspirations, to propel me to whatever it is I want to do. Feast on other people's words, Jim Rohn said, who's one of my mentors. In order for me, that's the reason why I was able to recite that long quote from Roosevelt, is because I wanted to. And what we're seeing today in our society is, and you know all this, but there are children that are coming from broken homes. There are no father figures. There is a cycle of what we call welfare in this society, and what we want to do, and what I'm going to talk about today, is breaking that, is being a catalyst to exact change in that area, because if we continue to do what we're doing, it's not going to get better, is it? It's going to get worse. So it starts with the kids. And the thing that the children are craving, when I was growing up, I wanted structure, I wanted discipline. I didn't have it, but I ended up going to the military and I got it in spades, okay? So what we see is that things like discipline, things like building self-confidence and esteem, but the biggest part of that is the guidance, is the system. So I have a magazine here that I'm going to refer to later, but this gentleman right here, his name is Reid Hoffman. I don't know if you know who he is, but there's a reason he's on Forbes magazine, which is a very famous periodical. But we're going to talk about his habits. We're going to talk about his children and understanding that someone that has reached the pinnacle of success monetarily, why that is. So you've heard the axiom, give a man a fish and he eats for one day, right? Teach a man to fish and he eats forever. So that's what we want to do. We don't want to enable anybody. We don't want to give someone something that they're not going to be able to be more intentional or able to make all the right decisions. So why is it that the United States is such a powerful country, one of the richest countries in the world, but we have such poverty, we have such welfare, we have all these different things? And it's because, going back to Mr. Hoffman, in high school, I think it should be required before you graduate to understand what money is, to understand what 19% APR means to somebody, because we're not teaching it. Please tell me if anybody knows that these classes are being taught anywhere, public or private schools. What is money? Actually, money is energy. Whether you believe it or not, it is. Money is energy. It needs to be constantly flowing in order for it to expand. So that's a great lesson to talk to people. How does money work? Do you think Reid Hoffman knows how money works? He's one of the 2,800 billionaires. 2,800 billionaires out of 6 billion people. What is that, 1/2 or 1/10 of 1%? I mean, it's not a lot of people. So why do they achieve it? How can I make my money work for me? Isn't that a great question? Instead of you trading time for dollars, and again, understand what I'm talking about. I'm not directly speaking to, because there's a lot of people in here that are captains of industry, past captains of industry, football players, war heroes, okay? But you have something, and the reason why I wanted you to write that down is that you have something in you that you can benefit our society. And that's what this discussion is all about. How do I save money? What are the vehicles in which I can save money and accumulate wealth? How does it grow? And how do I protect it from, not only from creditors, but from people that are trying to sue me nefariously? They don't have a ground to stand on, but anybody can sue anybody, can't they? It's true. I have 2 lawyers in the room that can attest to that. And I think the biggest question of all is, how do I never run out of money? How can I ensure that my money is going to outlive me and then be part of my legacy going forward for my children's children? 96 out of 100 people. We hear that all the time. Michael Asenko and Jeffrey Nichols. If you guys can come up here real quick, I just wanted to introduce. WealthCare Solutions Team is the name of our company, and I'm a managing member and a co-founder. Bill Peach, who is not here today, he lives in Metro West Boston area. We saw a problem, a big problem, didn't we? And that problem is why is it that 96 out of 100 people do not retire comfortably? Why is that? Michael Asenko, who's a CPA, he is an Air Force Academy graduate. He flew F-4 Phantoms. This guy is more concerned about people's futures than they seem to be, and that's why I've partnered with him. This is a gentleman that is a powerful man, and that his words carry weight that would break a lesser man's jaw. I love that. That's so cool. So Michael is easy to edify. Edification is a very powerful tool. And for this guy who cares about me, and he's become one of my best friends, for him to be part of this group is an honor and a privilege. Jeff Nichols, who I've had the pleasure of meeting recently, but I understand what his background is. He came from a very unhappy industry, as he calls it, and that's the litigation industry, where it seemed as though both sides of the equation walked away unhappy, but the attorneys were the ones that were making the money or not having any of this emotional pull. Jeff is someone that we attracted into our life because he was at the point, and you talk about synchronicity, where he said, I'm leaving this, that he's over 2 decades, 2.5 decades, right, of litigation. So he knows what he's doing, but he wants to be in a more happy situation, where he's reviewing people's plans that they have, whether it be a trust, putting together a simple will. Hey, Jeff, did something change January 1st, 2012? What was that called? That just changed?
The power of attorney?
The power of attorney.
It was actually in October.
October, right. So the power of attorney changed. The medical power of attorney, the power of attorney, which is so important to have. So I'm talking to people, first of all, they don't even know that they have a power of attorney, let alone that the old one works or not. That's what we do. The reason I wanted to just briefly bring these guys up is because I feel honored and privileged to be equally yoked to these gentlemen that are captains of their industry. Between all 3 of us, I think we have close to 100 years of experience in life and health insurance, in registered representative, FINRA, SEC. Both of us, I work for Merrill Lynch, she worked for Dean Witter, and of course the attorney. So that makes up the core of what it is that we do. Thank you, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Are you saying that you are financial advisors? Is that what's the basis?
We are, yes, we're a group of people that assist, like our demographic, it would be small business owners, families, individuals between the ages of 30 and 65, okay? And what we do is we go in and talk to them and say, and one of the easiest ways for us to do that is just to ask for a simple review. I'm all set. Oh, you might say you're all set, but if I go to the doctor and the doctor says I have 6 months to live, I'm going to go to another doctor until I find out, So the problem with that is that people don't understand, because there's so much stuff out there, and the reason why WealthCare Solutions Team works is because I've got the attorney that puts the estate plan together. I've got the CPA, the tax professional, that enables them to really see what is going on with the tax implications of the estate. And then you have someone like myself that can help with the health insurance, med subs, long-term care, life insurance, annuities, all the things to fund the trust. So that's where we also have affiliates that do FINRA, SEC, I have a Series 7 licensed broker, I have property and casualty people. I have people like Bob Leibold here, who's one of my mentors, and very happy that he's in attendance. But this guy, first of all, he knows everybody in town. Dr. Bob is his name, and he's someone that I really am grateful is in my life because he just brings so much power and expertise in what he does. He's someone that works with people, finding them money, helping them with mergers and acquisitions, but this is things that we need as far as an affiliate, and that's what we're working on. Why I have up here Walmart and Wendy's. So one of the things we talk about is going to work because you want to, not because you have to. So the 96 out of 100, only 4% of the population can retire comfortably is what is said. So if 96 out of 100 can't retire, what do they have to do? They have to continue working, don't they? And you know what I'm talking about. You've gone to Walmart and you've seen the gentleman there that is in his 70s or even in his 80s. I've seen that. Or Michael and I were at Wendy's talking after a meeting, and we saw probably 80, Michael, would you say? 80-year-old woman scraping gum with a putty knife in between the grout on the floor. Now, when she was 30 years old, 25, 40, I don't think she thought that she would be there. But the reason that she's there is because people, Einstein said, if you continue to do the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result, isn't that insanity? It is. So, but what Michael and I hear, what Jeff and I talk about, is that that's exactly what's going on in the United States. People say, well, something will change, or I know that everything is going to work out, but they're not doing anything different. They're doing the exact same thing. They're going and buying the Powerball, and that's like their exit strategy is buying lottery tickets. And hand to God, that's true. And I know people that do that. A new way of thinking is, there's a book by John Maxwell, who I just found out was a pastor in Lancaster, Ohio, where we grew up. And John Maxwell is unbelievable. He wrote a book which has two meanings. It's called Thinking for a Change. So thinking for a change is thinking because you don't think, so let's think for a change. But thinking for a change meaning shifting what it is that you are experiencing in your life. And that's the thing that I want to get across to people, is that whatever it is that you're holding here, what your predominant thoughts, what your focus is, that's what's going to show up in your life over and over and over again. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's not true. Let me say that again. If you don't understand something and you say, oh, that's bunk, that's baloney, that's not necessarily the case. I had the conversation with another mentor of mine, and he said, Eric, do you know how electricity works? He goes, I don't. He said, I know that electricity can cook my meal, but it also can cook me. I don't need to know the fact of all of the different things about thermodynamics and electrons and orbits and all that stuff. I just know that when I plug into my computer, it works. So the things that we're sharing, and the reason I bring that up, may be new to you. Maybe you never heard of it before. But just because you haven't heard of it, like Copernicus, like Christopher Columbus, like the Wright brothers, all of these people that people were criticizing them, weren't they? I mean, Copernicus was almost stoned to death. If it weren't for Queen Isabella, Columbus, I mean, we would eventually found out, but less than 500 years ago, guys, we still thought the world was flat. So these are great times to live in, because what is occurring in our society right now, I liken it to an awakening. People are waking up from their slumber. They're putting down the glass of Kool-Aid. They spit out the nightmare pill that my grandfather swallowed back in the 30s, because what worked in the 30s, go to school, get good grades. The better grades you get, the better job you get. The better job you have, the more money you make. The more money you make, the happier. It doesn't work like that anymore. When people say, oh, go get a real job, I'm an entrepreneur. What's a real job? A job where someone can right-size me or take me out of the equation right away? I just would rather be in control of my destiny that way. So we are passionate about our mission. One of the things that we talk about is, to whom much is given, much is expected. So if Source, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has given me abilities that I can't bury that. I can't bury those abilities. I actually have to hold them on a lampstand so people can see them. That everything or anything that I say may resonate with people, it may not resonate with people, but I have to say it. I'm compelled to. So, and it's the same with these guys. We are of like mind, and we're looking for like-minded people. You've heard of the term, boy, that Eric Ross is a go-getter. You've heard that before, right? Boy, what a go-getter he is. So we want to flip that, because when someone says go-getter to me, what is implied to me is that I'm now taking something from somebody. Where I flip it and read the book The Go-Giver, which changed my life, the book talked about 5 immutable laws towards stratospheric success. In The Go-Giver, that mentality is something that I want to instill in kids, 5, 6 years old, in teenagers, preteens, in young adults, in middle-aged people like myself, and people that are, as I told my dad, walking off the 18th green of life. Just because you're walking off the 18th green of life to the clubhouse doesn't mean that you are not viable. Doesn't mean that you don't have things to contribute. So the first law of the Go-Giver is the law of value. And we are of Italian descent. My dad, our last name is Iarussi, okay? So many Italians back in the late 1800s and 1900s were brought over to do artisan work and craftsmanship with stone or marble or wood, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You look at those homes from the turn of the century and juxtaposed against the homes that are built today, there's no comparison. I grew up in a house that was built in 1922. That house is not going anywhere. It's built so well. So the law of value states that I give more in value than I take in payment. But that is flipped from what people are trying to get more than they give, and it's wrong. So, and they wonder why they're where they are. The second law, which is my favorite law, is the law of compensation. The law of compensation says that your compensation is tied to how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So Bill Gates, perfect example. Whether you believe it or not, Bill Gates indirectly and directly employs hundreds of millions of people around the world through his peripheries and all the things that go with his operating systems and everything else. Now, does it surprise you or shock you that Bill and Melinda Gates have given away more than 1,000 income earners in their entire life combined? Way more. And they continue to give because they understand that money is energy. They understand that money cannot be stagnant. It has to be moving in order to flow back into your life. The law of influence. The law of influence says is that your influence is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Okay? So, or no, the law of influence is how abundantly you place the needs of others ahead of your own. Compensation is how many people you serve. The law of influence is how abundantly do you place the needs of others ahead of yours. Now, that's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Wait a second, I have to secure my oxygen mask first before I can help you. Type mentality. I got to get mine before you get yours, and it's not the way that the universe is set up. The universe is set up, and Zig Ziglar said it perfectly, is if you help enough people get what they want in their life, you can have everything that you want in your life. And it's true. If your focus is on Stan, if your focus is on Jeff, if your focus is on Michael, Jim, Jimmy, and that's my main focus, I want to help him get to where he wants to go, then my goals are automatically met. Again, it's a lot of people kind of struggle with that, but you have to understand that these are no different than the law of gravity, no different than night following day. They're immutable laws. The law of authenticity. This is a good one. That the most valuable gift that Deborah Rosenberg has to offer is Debbie. It's her. She's the most valuable gift that she can offer anybody. That's the law of authenticity. The final law is the law of receptivity. And you see this all the time, and I know when I tell you the story that it will resonate with some of you. I have a friend that, great guy, always giving to me, always. Anytime I want to help him do anything, he's like, oh, no, like, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, well, that's not good. Because you want to be, the law of receptivity says, the key to being an effective giver is to be open to receiving. Don't deny somebody the gift, the joy of doing something, because that's what he's doing. Without him, he thinks he's putting somebody out that has esteem issues, a wound. we could go on and on about that. But these are the things that, when I was putting this together, this is something for me. Wealth Care Solutions team, I love it. This is my bliss. My bliss is to be a coach, is to be a motivator, is to be a trainer, is to empower a young woman or a young man to, in their mind, say there is nothing that you cannot achieve. I don't care how big the goal is. If you want to achieve it, we will put in place those systems in order for you to achieve it. Can one man change the world? Does anybody know who this is? You probably, through the dress, you would be able to say who that is. So one of the things I think about when I think about this gentleman is what Zig Ziglar talked about. Again, Zig shows up in my testimony all the time. Persistent consistency. What persistent consistency means is character. It's all about your character. And I'm more concerned about my character than I am my reputation. People are going to think about me whatever they want. I mean, today didn't go off the way that I wanted it to, but that's okay because I know that I'm intentional about what it is that I want to create here. So the other piece of that is understanding that you can't ever. I go to the Church of Hope, and our pastor Scott said, you never, ever, ever, I think he said it like 20 times, never, ever, 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 ever give up. What it is that you're doing, Woody Allen said 90% of life is just showing up, is just being there. So I show up every single day, and I don't give up. And the story that I tell is the gentleman that organized a group of investors bought a gold mine in central United States, paid millions of dollars for all the permits and the equipment and so forth, and mined and mined and mined, and it said, this isn't working, and stopped 7 years into it. And there's a book called 3 Feet from Gold because they sold everything for pennies on the dollar, the rights to the land, all of the equipment. And the people that bought it mined 36 inches and hit the largest gold vein in North American history. So wherever it is that you are, and this is what we want to teach children and young adults or whomever that wants to be taught, that wants to be empowered to know that they can do whatever it is that they want to do. Don't give up because it's literally right around the corner. You have to hold that in your mind. If it takes 10 years, if it takes 5 years or a day, you can't give up. His name was William Wilberforce. You might have remembered the movie Amazing Grace. William Wilberforce is an inspiration to me because it shows what somebody, when they have the intention, when they have the begin with the end in mind, he moved a mountain, didn't he? I mean, he literally, with the help of other people and his logic and reasoning and Swayze discourse, he actually abolished slavery as we know it in the free world because of one person said, this isn't right. The annex, or the work annex, is a place that I'm putting together, and that's the impetus for this talk, okay? And the inspiration for that was a 60 minutes documentary where they took 10 people that had been out of work, and they asked questions. Who here is exhausted their 99 weeks of unemployment? Every single hand went up. Who here has been unemployed for more than 2 years? Every hand went up. These are people that are in their 50s that because of what they're thinking, no one's going to hire me, I'm past my prime, they're bitter. And I was watching because I'm a student of nonverbals, of all these different things that my mentors have taught me. I said, if that guy came in and he had that attitude and those nonverbal behavior, I wouldn't hire him either. He's blowing leaves for $8 an hour. He doesn't have to do that. He can come to, in Connecticut, we're modeling after Connecticut, it's called the Workstation in Connecticut. The Work Annex is just right down the street here on East 8th. Bob Finney and Allison Henley, who I connected with, are allowing us to utilize this space to bring in young kids, mentor young kids, have classes on how to really empower themselves and change their lives. Wealth Care Solutions team fits into this because what a great person Jeff Nichols is for anybody that wants to become an attorney. Or that, hey, I want to go into litigation, Jeff. And Jeff sits them down and goes, let me tell you 25 reasons why you don't want to go into litigation. Or Michael Lysenko, there's a young man that has fantastic grades. He's in 8th grade, and he's an inspiration to this young man to go to the Air Force Academy, and he can tell them, this is what I did in order to get it. So find someone that has what you want, do what they do or did, and you'll get what they have. It's modeling, it is mentoring, it's something that is desperately needed in the United States. And we're seeing a lot of the bigger part of this is that people want something, but they don't know how to go about getting it. And that's where the system comes in. WellCare Solutions team has a definitive system for taking, I don't care where the person is. They could be what we call Johnny-come-latelys. The Johnny-come-lately is mountains of debt. They had a bankruptcy, a failed business, a death in the family, and they have no savings. We can take that person and get them back on track. It doesn't matter where you are financially. We have a system that will empower someone to take it to the next level. Why can't we have a system for young people or for anybody to create something that they desire in their lives and not be worried about what someone else thinks? Some of the examples of curriculum that we teach, Thoughts Become Things. I actually started a meetup group called Thoughts Become Things, because that which you focus upon, your predominant thought, it expands, it grows. Now that is an innocuous statement that you have to assign meaning to. It could be neutral. You could just be thinking of nothing. You could be thinking evil thoughts or negative thoughts. You could be thinking positive thoughts that are contributory thoughts. So whatever it is that I think about, which is what I'm thinking about now, is this. This is what I'm consumed with. And because it's my predominant thought, all these different people, like Jim Martin, like Debbie, like Dr. Bob, all these people are showing up in my life, and it is not by accident. It is because that is the thought that I'm holding in my mind. Life is chaos. We talk about that. So someone the other night, she was talking to me, and she's telling me all these things, and you can tell it's well rehearsed. All these negative things about her, her foot and the surgery and all these things. And I just stop her. I immediately. I said, how is it that anything that you're sharing with me right now is bettering your situation? And she said, it's not. And I said, how is it that you telling me, is it making me more empowered, or is it making me feel good or bad? She never thought of that. She just hears other people doing it, and that's that whole thinking for a change. Well, if Joe's doing it here, then I guess it's okay. So I stopped her, and I said, I know what your predominant thought is. And she goes, okay, what is it? And I said, it's worry, it's stress, it's fear, it's anxiety. You're picturing things the way you don't want them to work out. But we're programmed as young kids, don't go outside without a jacket on, you'll catch your cold. And make sure that you file your taxes on time, or you're going to get all these things that we're programmed as 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds, that our friends, our relatives, whomever, I'm walking around as a supercomputer, which we are, supercomputers, saying programming. So the questions that I have her, and I ask myself every day, is what am I thinking? Because of my thought, what am I creating because of the thoughts? And what are the results? That's the end game. What is the end game for what it is that I'm thinking? Do I begin with the end in mind? Can you leverage chaos? And there's something called acrostics, and an acrostic is like father, where you put F is for friend, A is for, you know what I'm talking about? So it's the same thing with chaos. So you can leverage chaos, but you have to understand that you're in control of it. Dr. Covey talked about people that are in the tidal pool of life, where there's a huge wave that comes and it knocks them down, and they get back up and they stand up and there's another wave. It's like, get out of the surf. What are you doing? You're in control of that. So first of all, you have to become clear. C is for clarity. Understand what it is that's going on in your life, and understand that you're the one that is actually attracting it to you. H is healing, that you have to understand that we all came from, 95% of us came from dysfunctional families. That's just so what? So what you came from a dysfunctional family? How is it that you're going to get over that? Because last time I checked, there's nothing happening in 1996. There isn't. And the barn door's shut. It's shut. So Augustino says, the past is dead and buried, I'll think of it no more. It's over. The other one that I like is that you have to be in alignment. You have to align yourself with people. Like I said, find someone that has what you want, right? So if you're in alignment, you're in agreement that yes, my life is in chaos, and yes, I want to get out of it, you have to decide that first, because that's a critical step. Having an open mind, having an open heart, and being open to feedback, or my friend Bill, who's my partner as well, he talks about not invented here syndrome. And what not invented here, and Michael and I talk about that, is I could have the best idea since biodegradable trash bags and share it with someone, but because they didn't think of it, they don't want anything to do with it. So we understand the psychology of helping guide people through that so that they, in fact, think that it's their own idea. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to be enrolled. And all of that lends to stability. So if you have chaos in your life and you do all these things, you're plugged into something that is going to help you through this. A stable life is what comes about. Michael, what does a confused mind do?
Nothing.
A confused mind does nothing. And there's a lot of confusion in the United States right now. Confusion about finances, confusion about what is going to happen to me over the next 10 years. And if they're confused and they're getting all of this information, is it shocking that we see that 96 out of 100? Because they're not doing anything. I mean, we're trying to talk to them, or we are talking to them, but they're like, well, my brother-in-law, who makes $20,000 a year, thinks that what you're doing is a scam. I'm like, okay. I mean, if that's your reality, then that's your reality. It's a defense mechanism. So if they say to themselves, I don't know what to do, I'm confused, so therefore I'm not going to do anything. So it just shuts down. The ostrich's head in the sand type thing. You know, the bills keep coming in, but they never get opened up. They don't want to see them. We talked about the programming. Early on, we're programmed to all these things that are tradition. You know, and tradition isn't necessarily the right way to go. You know, I'll tell you a quick story about the Easter ham. And the little daughter is watching her mother cut the ends off of the Easter ham and putting it in the oven. Mama, why did you cut the ends off? Well, I don't know. Mom always did that. Let's go ask her, because they're all there. They go and ask the mother, and the mother says, I don't know, that's what Grandma did that. She's here, so let's ask Grandma. And then she goes to Grandma, and Grandma said, the little girl said, Grandma, or Great-Grandma, why do you cut the ends off of the ham? Well, honey, we didn't have a pan big enough, so I had to cut the thing to fit it in the pan. Well, so people are taking these things that they think is a tradition or that they don't want to upset, but it's not serving them. It's not serving anybody, because they're not empowered, because they're not wealthy, they're living subsistence living, and we are all meant to have abundance in our life, whether that be wealth, or whether that be your intellect, whether that be your ability to influence other people, okay? So the powerful systems and proven plans of action are what it is that we have that will enable someone to get to wherever they want to go. We do individual assessments of people. We're actually bringing people in on Thursdays. They can do it on one-on-one, but this is at the annex where we're bringing these people in and saying, you don't have to continue doing what you're doing. These people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're willing to take massive action, listen to someone. But the biggest part of this is not everybody is going to be accepted. It's actually, we vet the people that are coming in to ensure that they're going to follow up. Because if they, if you don't move, I'm not going to move. I mean, you've got to show me that you're willing to do this. Trusted advisors. Again, the confused mind is if I go to Deb and I talk to her about, an inheritance that I have, and she gives me a piece of advice, and I go to 4 other people, and they give me 4 different pieces of advice because they're not talking to one another, then I don't know what to do because it's not my core competency, and that's another reason why we set up Wealth Care Solutions team, so that we would eliminate that confusion. It's just one voice. It's one ideology. The road to someday leads to nowhere. I hear it all the time. Well, I'll get around to that someday. Well, we're thinking about doing that. I go, wouldn't now be a good time to do that? Wouldn't now be a great time to take care of a simple will, to take care of your legacy going forward? The power of goal setting. So I am someone that is huge on goal setting. And there's a goal setting workshop tomorrow at 9 a.m. right on South Trail that I'm going to go to, because I am a consummate student. I'll be 85 years old and I'll learn something from a 5-year-old because I want to. I have a learner's heart. I'm not, someone that knows everything. I want to learn as much as I can so that I can empower people. They did a study at Yale University in followed these people all the way up to modern day, and there were 3 groups that they polled. One group wrote down specific goals that were SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. That's what SMART stands for. They had the other group that had ethereal goals. This is what I want to do. They weren't written down. They were just kind of in their mind what they wanted to do. And then the third group, they didn't have any goals. They didn't think about anything. They're like, I graduated from Yale. I'm God's gift to the United States, and I'm going to be fine. Well, what happened was, it's not surprising at all. The people that had specific, measurable goals became Supreme Court justices, became judges, became CEOs, captains of industry. The people that had loose written goals had marginal success. Let's call them C students if you were to grade them. But the people that didn't have any goals written down were languishing. And that is not, that is definitely by design. So why I handed out those cards is that, and why I said that before, is now what? Okay, yeah, this is great, Eric, that you're teaching us this, that you're opening our eyes to something that's different, but what can I do now? Well, it's up to you. I mean, you can drag a horse to water, you can shove its head in the trough, but if you don't put salt in its oats, it's not going to drink anything. And I would never put salt in the horse's oats. But what we want to find out is, where do you see yourself, or do you see yourself fitting in? Would you like to be involved and come to see one of the presentations? To be someone that, with a lot of wisdom, with a lot of knowledge, that you can't pay for that. You can't pay for world experience that Bob Leibold has as an entrepreneur, as a successful business person. I want to be able to pick his brain, and I do. So make a difference. Get involved. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be this, but this is something that I am compelled to go out and evangelize, if you will, that we need you in order to impact the future of our country. To let them know that you don't have to go through the cycle of subsistence. You don't have to be someone that is not going to achieve what it is that you want, and we'll show you the necessary steps in order to do that. So introduce us to like-minded people. Become a mentor. Like-minded people, I'm running into them all the time because I'm thinking about this all the time. And I'm running into people that say, this is exactly what we were talking about as a compliment. This just happened 2 days ago. What I just shared, which was put on my heart to do, this woman said, this is what is missing. Can we talk about partnering? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. So leave your legacy. That's a make or mark. What is the difference that you're going to make in your life? Because we only go around one time a year. I don't know about the whole reincarnation and stuff, but these are the websites for WealthCare Solutions team. That's my website up there as well. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and just create a great day for yourself. And if you have any questions, we're around. But thank you so much for your time.